What is up, people? What is up, people? This is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker. You know, the Virginia real estate agent. So, today we're talking about unconditional love, why it does not exist, why it is a myth, and also the reasons why you really don't want it in your life anyway. So, I recently put up a post on my Facebook account about how my boys, the fellas, as I refer to them, already know that they are not in an unconditional love relationship with their father. There are conditions to our love, or to this relationship, and for them to maintain this relationship, for them to stay in my good graces, for me to stay in their good graces, then there is some level of performance. And they should be aware of my performance metrics for our relationship. And also, they should start to develop their own performance metrics for my relationship with them, their relationship with their friends, and all around relationships in general. Now, there is this concept that people talk about, which is called unconditional love, right? It's a love where, it's kind of self explanatory, where there are no conditions to that love. Like you would love that person regardless of how they perform, how they act, how they show up in your life, no conditions whatsoever. And I just want to let you know that's a lie. That is a lie. I know it sounds good, right? It sounds plausible. It sounds realistic, but it's a lie. And we know this is a lie because we don't have any relationship outside of an animal, right? If you have a pet, maybe you can have some level of unconditional love for that creature, but that is not a even relationship, right? Pets can't really do much for you because they are your slaves, right? So we have this idea where people are promoting unconditional love, and I just want to have a quick conversation with you about it, field any questions that you may have, and go from there. So who am I? My name is Abraham Walker. I run a real estate company with my wife. I also have two boys. They are 12 and 14. And I am trying to win the best dad, greatest dad of the century award with my children. So I take dadding, being a dad, quite serious. So we have these principles and this philosophy and different talks about life with my children to prepare them for the future. Unconditional love is one of those questions, or one of those topics. So, quick aside, think about your relationship that you have, any relationship you have right now. What are the conditions of to that relationship? What do you have to do to maintain that relationship? Are there any requirements, either spoken or unspoken, that you understand and that you adhere to keep that relationship intact? I'll give you an example. I have a really good friend. We are in the same line of business. His name is Mr. Marvin. Me and Mr. Marvin are really close friends. The one of the conditions of our relationship is that we communicate with each other on a regular basis, maybe through messaging. We send each other a couple messages every day. We get on the phone every 2 to 3 weeks. That is the condition of our relationship. Now, we could not maintain that relationship. We couldn't have the level of intimacy in that relationship, the level of trust in that relationship, if it wasn't for the time commitment that we have we both involuntarily agreed to, but we see value in having each other as friends and life companions, right? So that's a condition. If you don't meet that condition, then you don't get that quality of a relationship with someone. And you can go back to all of your friends, all of your relationships that you've ever had in your entire life. There was a condition that you met to maintain and keep that relationship. That's because love is not has condition. Love has conditions. There is no unconditional relationship. But I know what you're thinking to yourself. Abraham, you say off the wall stuff on a regular basis. There's no evidence to prove this. Another thing too about me, I also run a dads group called DC Dads Group. Go check it out if you want to. We have a meetup group, a meetup page. We also have a Facebook account. We have 400 dads on the meetup group, and I host meetings regularly, and I talk to dads throughout the Northern Virginia region. And so this is what I know: when I meet a dad who's lonely, who doesn't have friends, who is missing connections, that guy has usually not honored his conditions of the relationships that he could have had. Now, whether or not he likes the person, he likes his colleagues, he likes his neighbor, that's irrelevant. The the point is that the relationship, to maintain a relationship with somebody, there is a condition. And it doesn't make sense, if you have kids, for you to treat them or teach them or try to profess to them that the relationships that you have with them doesn't have a condition. They know that you treat them. Your kids know you treat them differently when they act a certain way, right? Just like your kids know that one of their, if you have multiple kids, they know which kid is the favorite, right? Because the kid that's the favorite is doing things to maintain that favoritism a relationship, right? They're trying to stay in favor with you. They're trying to stay in your good graces. They're doing stuff that resonates with you because of the conditions that you may not have spoken, but you definitely respond to. Again, this is just my own personal position, right? But what do people say? There's some studies. There's some interesting studies out here about this same concept, about the fact that relationships have conditions and deep relationships have harsh conditions. Like, they have strict rules and regulations that you must adhere to maintain those relationships, right? So let's look at an article. Let's look at an article. So this is on theconversation.com, right? And so this article is about, why do we find making new friends so hard as adults? Right. So I highlighted a couple points. We're not going to read the whole article, but researchers, let's look at this part. When researchers interviewed adults about making friends in a recent study, the most important challenge cited was a lack of trust. That is, people found it harder to put their trust in someone new and fully invest in them as a friend compared to when they were younger. The reason why when you were younger, you were able to do this a little bit more easier, to have these deep relationships, to have new relationship, is that you were ignorant. You had no idea what your value was. You had no idea how to value other individuals. So you had very few conditions on that relationship. So you were able to be in relationship with many more people than you are as an adult, right? But as you get older and as you become more aware of yourself, which this article is going to also talk about, you start to place conditions on people. Like I said, a lot of those conditions are unspoken. You haven't said what they are, but when people are out of alignment with your standards, with your rules for engagement, then you usually disconnect with those individuals, because unconditional love does not exist. Let's continue with this article. All right, so it goes on to say, so what is it about adulthood? Well, as adults, we have greater self awareness than children. While there's often a positive, it also means we are more aware of the risk of being judged by others, of not being liked, or of being rejected, and of being hurt. So, as you can see, one of the conditions that you have is that if you are in a relationship with somebody, they can't judge you, right, appropriately. They have to judge you appropriately. They can't reject you. They also need to like you, right? So you see how like, even with your friends, you have these conditions, right? And so if you're raising kids, it's important. I believe it's important as a parent. And like I said, I'm trying to win the Dad of the Year award, a Dad of the Decade, Dad of the Century award. So I look at my job as a parent as a leadership opportunity, and I'm essentially leading my kids into adulthood. I want them to be well aware of what skills they need to have, what it takes to maintain relationships, because I feel like relationships are more important than even school, your job, your career. Relationships are just, I feel like, are the currency of life, right? So I want to make sure that my boys are equipped, emotionally equipped to manage and maintain their relationships, which means that they need to know what are the conditions involved with being with someone, right? Let's continue with this article. To trust a new friend means opening ourselves up and being vulnerable, just as we do in relationships. So, you see, another condition to being in a relationship with someone. So, friendships need time, as this article goes on to say. After the trust issue comes time. Lack of time was the second most common reason people gave after lack of trust. When asked why, they found it hard to make friends as adults. Okay, so another thing that we do in my household is we make sure that our kids are not too busy. Because if your kid is too busy, right, having all these extracurricular sports and all this, parents be making their kids' schedules so hectic that then those kids wind up having really piss poor relationships with the members in their community or friends at school, right? And so I want to make sure my boys have enough space to honor their commitments, honor the conditions involved with being friends with their neighborhood companions. When I meet people, especially through my dad's group, one of the things I notice is that the guys who do not have that many relationships or who are looking for relationships, their struggle is that their lives are so busy that they don't have space for someone else. Why is that space for somewhere else important? Because one of the conditions to being in a relationship with somebody is to spend time with them, is to make space for them, is to be concerned about them, is to think about them while they're not around. And you can't do that if you're preoccupied and you're busy with life. So you have to make space for people because it is a condition it's a condition of the relationship, right? So so don't buy into this concept that people are going to like you as you are, that people are going to take you as you are. That's not true. There is a condition to being with people. All right, let's go back to the article here. U.S. researchers have tried to quantify this. So this is about how long does it take to actually make a friend, right? So this is, again, we're just giving you the thesis on why is it important to understand the conditions that are a part of your relationship and to make sure you honor them or try to become more aware of them so you can meet those conditions. So, how long does it take to make friends? US researchers have tried to quantify this. Estimated it takes roughly 50 hours of shared contact to move from acquaintance to casual friends. To be a close friend, more than 200 hours. Do you see that? Do you see that? 200 hours. That's a condition to your relationship, right? And if you are someone who, if you're lonely, right? If you find yourself having challenges meeting people, or if you have challenges even maintaining your existing relationships, you may want to look at your schedule. If your schedule is booked, right? If your schedule is jam packed with you living your best life, then you may have a lonely life. And you got to ask yourself, who are you going to reminisce with in the future about your amazing life, right? Sure, having an experience is one thing. Talking about that experience for years to come is a whole nother enjoyment that you get from having friendships and relationships and honoring your conditions. So I knew this about the 50 hours that it takes to create a new friend or to move a friend from acquaintance to casual friend, and also the 200 hours that it takes to move from the casual friend to a close friend, right? So in my dad's group, we have a Friday breakfast session that happens every Friday, right? It goes from either really like an hour and a half to 2 hours every Friday morning, 7 a.m. And it sometimes, depending how delicious the conversation is, it'll go until 10 o'clock, right? That is my space to make sure that I honor the conditions of creating new relationships in my geographic area. Because I know life is busy for most people, right? So I'm not going to say that it's not challenging to honor these conditions or these commitments, but I will say if you can find some type of structured organization that will allow you to meet with people on a regular basis, and people, the same people will come to those sessions on a consistent basis, then you too will find yourself in new relationships. New relationships because you're now able to honor the condition. I'll also say that if you're a let's rank people based on their ability to be a friend, right? Or their ability to be in a relationship. Top tier people who are friend centered or relationship centered, they usually don't really have openings for new relationships because they already have their previous relationships that they've been carrying and honoring for years, right? So it's going to be challenging for you to break in with someone who already is that understands relationships, that understand conditions, meet their conditions on a regular basis, because that person has people vying for the opportunity to be in relationship with them. So they almost have like a bench of people, right? Backup friends who are super interested in becoming connected with that individual. So you're going to have to find people who do not have the relationship skills to have a relationship, to maintain a relationship, and you have to bring that person up to speed. You're going to have to develop together. This is the same concept that I try to teach to my children as well, because it's all about bringing the little ones up to become big ones, right? And so, one of the concepts I talk to my boys, the fellas, about is the fact that going to the playground is not really something that's an option. Going to the playground is not an option for my boys. They have to go to the playground because the other kids that are in the community go to the playground. This is where they communicate. This is where they connect. This is where they socialize. This is where they have their stories, share different insights about each other. So my boys are already aware of one of the conditions that are involved with being in a relationship with their friends, even though no one in their party has said it, right? It's unspoken. But if my boys go to the park and no one's at the park, they come back home, you know what they do on a regular basis? I see it on a regular basis. They're sad. My boys come back home and their spirits are low because no one's at the park. Because you see, one of the conditions my boys have, even though they haven't said it, is that their friends have to go to the park. And so I told my boys, I say, hey, look, man, you need to tell your friends, hey, one of the conditions of being in a relationship with me is that I need you to come to the park. And what I'll do is I'll also come to the park for you. And so as they've been able to communicate this, now I will say my boys are friends with boys. The parents of boys don't teach their kids to get in touch or in tune with their emotions, to speak up, all this other stuff that we do to boys that really makes it challenging for them to become successful men, right? To become well-rounded men. I see this in my dad's group on a regular basis. A lot of guys just haven't been properly socialized because we do this weird thing with boys. But I'm not gonna do that with my boys. I'm not gonna do that with my boys. So I tell them to communicate what their emotions are, right? To also communicate their unspoken rules, right? The conditions that are involved with them, right? So let's go back to the article. All right, so U.S. researchers. Okay, we already talked about that. What's more, the hours you spend together need to be quality. While you may well put in the time with work colleagues, professional interactions don't count for much. Let's just pause right there. All right, so I live in an area, Northern Virginia, highly educated area. I mean, people up here are super interesting. They have interesting backgrounds. They have interesting jobs, careers. They're very engaging, thoughtful, well read. So it's also they make a lot of money up here, so they get to do different activities. They always have something to talk about. But a lot of these people up here specifically spend a lot of time at work pursuing professional careers, career achievements, and they've spent a lot of time with their coworkers. They confuse that time that they spend with their coworkers as they've created friendships. That's not true. That's not true. You just work together. You're not friends. You're not friends. You have to have a conversation with somebody. Say, hey, look, we're friends. All right. We're going to be together. We're going to spend time after work. We're going to spend time on the weekends. Like we're going to introduce our kids. Our kids are going to commingle, right? Our spouses are going to get together. I'll know your family. You'll know my family. No, you see, when people don't do that, you're just working with that person. That is a condition of your friendship, right? I see this time and time again, especially from people who, because of my profession, I sell real estate. I meet people at the end of their careers as well who are moving out of this area. And I got to say, so many of them that I meet that are retiring are lonely. They're lonely because they haven't connected with anybody, even though they've worked with somebody for 10, 20, 30 years, right? So there is a condition to your relationships. And I just want to make sure that we are aware of that. Okay, so while you may well put in the time with work colleagues, professional interactions don't count for much. To develop a new friendship, you need a personal connection. It doesn't have to be an intimate conversation to strengthen a friendship. Casual check-ins and joking around can be just as important. Again, so you're trying to find everybody's different, right? So I'm not going to go out here and say that everyone needs the same thing from everybody. That's not true. But whoever your person is, right? Whoever the individual that you want to go deep with on a relationship, that you want to go you want to have this life partner that you're trying to develop, you need to discuss with them what are the conditions that are required for me to maintain or even exceed your expectations of being in this relationship. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a really good friend named Marvin. If Marvin needs something from me, I'm trying my best to meet his expectations of me, right? Because I would like to keep Mr. Marvin, the relationship I have with Mr. Marvin, into the future, right? And so I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the asset that is created when the two of us come together. And so I'm not afraid to say, okay, great, Mr. Marvin has these conditions, right? And I want to meet in on those conditions. Your relationships have conditions too. Now, you may not have said it out loud, you may not have spoken it, but your relationships have conditions, and also parents, particularly too, because this whole thread, this video started because parents believe that their kids don't have conditions. That's a lie. That's a lie. We already know that parents treat kids differently based on their performance, right? In some households, if you have a kid that's really smart and a kid that's not so smart, you'll hear the parent only talk about the kid that's really smart. Or if you have a kid that's really an athletic kid, right, and the parent is skewed to athletic accomplishments, you'll hear that parent talk about or show favoritism to that kid who's athletic. Why? Because one of the conditions of being in a relationship with that parent is that you have achievements that fulfill the parent, not that fulfill the kid, right? So stop lying to yourself, right? Nobody's buying your lie. All right, let's get back to this juicy article, right? All right, so now we're getting into what is the how do you become successful with making better friends? Like how do you make friends as an adult, right? And this is going to help you to understand why conditions are important. I believe that they are important, right? So build friendships from a 10 minutes a day. You don't have to be climbing mountains or bonding intensely over a shared hobby to solidify a new friendship. If you put in 10 minutes a day, you can maintain existing friendships and build new ones. Send a text, forward a meme, add to the group chat, or give someone a quick call. Don't get caught up on how much effort, energy, and time goes into building friendships. 10 minutes a day may be all you need. You see, this article is really for the friendship handicapped individuals in the world, right? So this article is for people who do not understand that relationships have conditions to them. Listen to this. Let's look at this one more time. Look at the conditions that this article is talking about that you should adhere to. And how dare they say this? How dare they tell you what to do with these unconditional love relationships, right? So they say you should send a text, condition one, forward a meme, condition two, add to the group chat, condition three, give someone a quick call, condition four. You see, ladies and gentlemen, relationships, friendships, Everything that you do, there's a condition for you to keep it, maintain it, possess it, right? Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself, or at least don't try to get me to buy into the lie. Don't try to get don't bring your kids down this philosophy, because then your kids are going to have to meet my kids, and then my kids are going to have to teach them, right? And how dare you put all that pressure on my boys to bring your kid along when you could have watched this video and learned your lesson today, right? Now, if this is just something I say, this is something the researchers say too, right? This is something the researchers say, right? All right, let's get back to this article. Let's get back to this great article. All right, so make the most of any quality time. When you do get to properly spend time with a friend or acquaintance, make the most of it. Avoid distractions if possible. Keep Instagram for the couch at home, and be present with your new friend. Like I mentioned, I have a dad's group. My dad's group meets on Fridays, every Friday, like clockwork. We don't miss Fridays, right? Even when I was out of town, Joseph held it down and he held the sessions every Friday. So we haven't missed a Friday in like 26 weeks now. So at this session, no one is on their phone. No one's on their phone until it gets time to, when some of the guys have to go to work and they don't want to, they don't want to be late for work. So they start to check their phone, because 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8, nobody's really emailing you. So you have some time to just focus, be present, communicate, commit to the conversation. And then, 8:30 is when really everybody's phones start to buzz and we start to get that distraction into our lives. So what I'm suggesting to you is that if you are somebody who is friendship handicapped, right? Like you have poor friendship skills because you're not honoring the conditions that are required to maintain your relationships, then you probably want to bulletproof your environment so that you can be present for another individual, right? It's going to be hard to. I just want to let you know it's not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy because you do not have the skills necessary to maintain relationships, or you have bought into the idea that your relationships are unconditional. And now you have no relationships, or you have such surface level relationships that you have no one to bring you to the airport, right? You have no one, you don't know if anybody's going to visit you at the hospital if you had some type of colonoscopy, or if you had to have some type of major surgery, right? Like, who's going to visit you in the hospital? You know who's going to visit you in the hospital? People who you've honored and maintained all of your conditions with. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Conditions are back. Conditions are back. And they're good. They're good too, because now you know where you are with people, right? Like, now you have a placeholder for where am I in this relationship. Also, you know what to do to get better at being a good person for your people, right? For your friends, for whoever you're developing a relationship with. And to bring this around to the kids, for your kids, right? Like I have two boys. My two boys need different things from me. So that means that I can't just be one thing to both boys. I have to be unique things for both boys, because I want both of those relationships well into my grave, right? I want them both to come and spend a lot of time with me in the hospital whenever I get to the hospital days, and honor the condition that dad has honored, right? That dad has modified himself for you. I feel this is a good point here. I feel that the people that you're in relationship with are important enough for you to modify yourself for them, right? Nobody cares about you being who you are. This is about being in a relationship with people. And stop saying that, people should accept me for who I am. Prove it. Prove it. People work at jobs where you have to conform to the role that you're in a job, right? Or even if you go into some type of a large organization, if you're in some type of church, or if you're in some type of volunteer organization, you still have to conform to adhere to the rules that are required for you to maintain your membership to this group. So people understand memberships in that regard, but they don't understand membership requirements for friendships and for relationships with your kids, right? Conditions are good. Don't avoid them. Let's wrap up with this last part of this article. When you do get to properly spend time with a friend or acquaintance, make the most of it. Avoid distractions if possible. Oh, we already read this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I want to close with something. I have a younger brother, right? I have a younger brother who lives near my parents. My younger brother spends a lot of time with my parents. So my parents, it makes sense for them to favor my younger brother because he honors the condition that's required for them to be in a deep, connected, well managed relationship. I shouldn't have any feelings towards that because I'm in another state. I'm not able to honor those conditions, right? That's just a part of life. So you have relationships, they come with conditions. Find out what those conditions are, meet those conditions, and try to manage them as best you can, right? If you find yourself, in a position in life where you don't have relationships, right? Or you feel that you're lonely, right? And you desire connection with other individuals, look at your skills to maintain conditions with other individuals. That is the secret to your success with the relationships is your condition management skills. Don't know if that's a thing, but we just said it, right? So let's see if we have any questions, statements, or whatever like that on the. I think this is what Facebook. Let's see. What do y'all think about this conversation? I think it's cool. I think it's a good conversation. I do enjoy having these discussions with you all. I hope that this discussion also gives you some talking points, something to ponder as you develop your relationships. Like I said, I have a dad's group. My guys come to me, and there's only so much of me to go around. So I know that I have to connect these guys to other people. And one of the problems I see is that these guys come to me and they have poor friendship management skills because they do not honor the conditions and they've bought into the idea that they're special and people should accept them as they are, like who they are. That's just not the case, man. That's just not the case. People don't care. I mean, people want to know that you are okay with modifying yourself for them. That you see them as being valuable enough to be to change for. And it's easy, it's easy to, I turn 40 in a couple of weeks. So it's easy to be, young and think that you don't need anybody, right? But we all get old and we all die. And I tell you, man, since I sell real estate, when I meet these old people and they don't have no friends, it is sad as hell. It's sad. I was like, good Lord, I don't want that's not gonna be me. Mm-mm. I'm gonna learn a lesson from your life, and I'm gonna have a gaggle of friends. Like I'm gonna have so much fun when I get old. I gotta say, I'm really looking forward to my old days because I'm doing the work right now to make sure that I have honored the conditions. You should see the number of people I call from my high school days on a regular basis. Well, they don't call me as often or sometimes at all. I don't give a shit. I don't because I want those relationships in the future. And so what does that mean? That means I have to do the work. I can't complain about, well, this person isn't doing that. That person isn't doing that. Bullshit. Bullshit. I want I want that valuable relationship, right? And so many people they get into their feelings, right? They're so short-sighted. They're like, well, man, this person made me feel like this, or this person judged me this way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not gonna be saying that when you're 60. And we all get to see most of us get to 60. You know what I'm saying? It's not likely. It's not, I mean, you're most likely gonna get to 60. Right. So what are you going to do it then? Right. Like, what are you going to do when you're 65 and you retire and then you no longer have this workplace that people are forced to go to and talk to you? Right. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do when people have to opt into your relationship with you, and you have relationship skills that have atrophied, right? You haven't been able to maintain them, right? Nobody comes around. Nobody swings over. You don't swing over. I just hope you understand. Conditions are, conditions are part of life, man. To pretend like they that anybody cares that you have an opinion or you have feelings, all other stuff is just it's just a false way to live. We live in community. Your ability to maintain the community, to serve the community, to bring value to the community is really all that matters. Your ability to contribute, right, will determine how much you're able to access. All right, let's see. Let's see. We got some comments. Okay, Pat Adams says, 60 is not old. Damn you. Yeah, 60 is not old, but people die in their 80s, so that means you only have 20 years left. And if you have relationship skills that have atrophy, like I just mentioned, what's the likelihood of you seeing an older gentleman just looking for new relationships, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not possible, right? Or it's not plausible, but what's the likelihood of it? It's not likely. So it makes more sense for you to get your relationship skills, your friendship management skills at an early age, so that you can have those relationships well into your future, well into your past. I mean, well into your old age, right? And so, like I said, I have my dad's group, so I have a nice sample size of people who kind of all have similar problems, which is relationship management skills. Relationship management skills, honoring the condition. It's unspoken. All of these skills are unspoken. I know what you're thinking too. I used to think like this too. Here I am thinking about. So even think about like my friends who I call are people I used to be friends with in high school, right? And how they don't really call me. I even posted this on Facebook. Um, I could say, damn it, why don't they think about me like I think about them? I don't care about that. I mean, that did cross my mind. There was a moment when I was in my little victim mode, and I was like, oh man, like you know what? Hell with them. I'm gonna withhold myself from them too. What do you gain from that though? What do you gain from that? Loneliness? Being by yourself? Success? I was by myself. I died alone. Success. Not me. Mm-mm. That's not my goal. That's not my goal. I expect to be, I want to perform for the community. So the community will show up when I need them. I don't need them now per se because I am able bodied, but in the future, and there is a future, what's going to happen? And I don't want my boys to have poor relationship management skills. Another thing too, since we're on this topic, right? I find raising the boys, the fellas, so fascinating too because their friends have poor relationship management skills too. So now I find myself trying to influence my boys to want to influence their friends to get them to also develop relationship management skills because some of their parents, while they may have great relationship management skills, they have not transferred those skills to their kids. It's it's crazy. It's crazy. You should see the group of people in our community who where the adults get together on a regular basis, but the adults don't make an effort to make sure that the kids get together. They're not transferring those skills to the next generation, right? The adults are having a great time while the kids suffer. And sure, some people will say, well, the kids will learn through osmosis. Bullshit. Bullshit. You got to have a lesson. If it was osmosis, we wouldn't have teachers in school, right? Like we would just send the kids to an auditorium and just have them absorb information. That's not how it works, though. You have to test them. You have to give them a lesson. You have to give them vocabulary words and all kind of other stuff. All right, let's get to another question or statement. Pat Adams again says, I'm always fascinated by the things you come up with. Excellent, Pat Adams. Hey, man, thank you so much. Pat Adams has been with me since 2012. I think we've been together. We've known each other since 2011, 2012. I used to call Pat Adams up in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning, because we used to make phone calls. I would make phone calls in New Orleans. He would make phone calls. I think he was in North Carolina at that time. But yeah, so we've been together for a while. But you see how we honoring the conditions of our relationship, right? So important. It's so important. Let's just stay on for a little bit longer, see if we have any other questions, any other comments. Hope you like this conversation. Okay, we don't. Excellent, excellent. This is going to be such a delicious discussion when my children get to watch this video. I'm actually going to show them this video on probably tomorrow or the coming day, just to get their opinion. I love to get my children's the fellas feedback about my philosophies. I want to get their takes, their hot takes on whether or not I'm full of stuff, whether or not I'm really doing this stuff, because your kids see straight through you. They know the core, they know your core, right? They know what's inside of you. And so you can see in their facial expression, if you say some high and mighty stuff, they'll kind of like look to the side or look away and stuff like that because they don't believe you, because they kind of know who you are. All right. I think that's it. I think this was a great conversation. I hope you took something away from this conversation. Um, I hope the article that I put up gave you some more talking points. I'll put a link to the article. You send me a message and I'll send you a link to the article. And that's it. Post any questions that you have in the comment section. I will respond to them in due time. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate your attention. I know you could have been doing something else, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. I will see you on the next video. Peace.